Hello, my name's John. These are some Warhammer 40,000 Orks, and you're watching War Games, Models and Other Hobbies. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be painting some orc flesh. I've quite some time ago made a video on how to paint green skins, and as some of those paints are no longer available anymore, I thought it was about time I did an updated version. And as I have a squad of orcs here, primed and ready to go, I thought it's the perfect time to do it. The only paints that I'm going to be using to do the flesh are the Orok flesh, Beltan green, and some moot green. Now the first thing that I want to do with these is give them a wash with that Beltan green. So I'm going to do all of this in real time like I do with most of my videos, and I'm going to start with the wash on each of the orcs, and then hopefully by the time I've got through all 10 of them it'll be ready for the dry brush. So I'm going to start with the Beltan green, and what I'm also going to do, I'm just going to move the orcs to one side off camera. Let's zoom on in a little bit. So, yeah, that's better. So you can see this a little bit clearer as I do it. Now, whenever I paint miniatures, I like to start with the skin or the lowest level colour first. So this is nice and easy because it is just all of the bare arms, the head and that kind of thing. Also, at this point, it doesn't matter if you accidentally get anything in the wrong places. So the green itself, I don't mind if I get it on the clothes or anything like that, as I'm going to be painting those clothes later on anyway. Sometimes I do it in a different order, but I kind of prefer to do it this way. But there's no right or wrong way to how you do it, and I think that's the key thing. Apologies as well during this video if you can hear a lot of traffic in the background. I'm currently filming this on a Sunday in the middle of the day, and suddenly lots of people sound as if they're going out and about on their daily errands. Now, when it comes to painting all my models, irrelevant of the skin colour, I tend to do it in very similar ways. So I build up different coats of colour to build it up, and in the way that I do it, it allows me to make darker colours, darker flesh tones, just by adding some more wash or dry brush with another colour or that kind of thing. So I like the flexibility that it gives me, this method. But we'll see how quick I can get all of these done. I might speed up some of the process, but it's quite nice to have the real time. I will put timestamps in the description for anyone who wants to jump to each colour and not put up with my babbling while I'm painting these. Alternatively, why don't you sit back, do some hobby at the same time as I do this. If you're doing that, be really interested to hear what you're working on. Chuck it in the comments. It's always nice to hear what other people are doing, as it is an awesome way to get inspiration for different things. Okay, that's cool. going to need to get some new brushes soon as well, so if anyone has any recommendations, chuck that in the comments as well. I always like to try new tools, and what better way to find them than with people referring them in my direction. As you can see, I'm not really being very careful as I put this wash, this shade, over the model. Now, with all of the painting techniques I use, I quite like the way that at any point I could just stop. Oh, that's a glove, that's not the thing, what was I saying? Yeah, anytime I could stop and not have to apply any more paint, because even the first, most basic layer is that colour. And I mean, already look, we've got kind of highlights, lowlights, that kind of thing. Yes, it's not perfect, but it doesn't mean you have to spend ages and ages and ages painting something. You just do a little bit and leave it. If you like colour on your models, you could do a base coat and then leave it a long time before you get around to the rest of it. Now, the reason why I'm blowing them just as I finish them, in case there's any bubbles, because this brush is proper ropey and it's kind of mixing it up a little bit as I put the paint on, and because I'm doing it quite rushed, there is a risk of a few bubbles kind of appearing on the paint surface as I go. I'm hoping as well that I'm staying on camera while I do this. Yeah, I had a nightmare video to start the month off. Had an idea for a conversion, and yeah, it's not bad conversion, just a very simple one, but yeah, I ended up not noticing where the camera was, super gluing things to my fingers, all that kind of stuff. But I thought, I'm going to post that anyway, because it's always good to share things when they're not quite going right, as it's a learning experience for other people as well. They can see the mistakes that you've made and learn from them, and it's worth it. And in the scheme of things, the problems I had doing that video actually mean nothing at all in the scheme of it, which is at the moment the best way of looking at things. So that's why today is a nice, calm painting green skin video. Now, what I might do as well with this video is, as I've done in the past, do two versions. So do a standard real-time length, which you're watching right now, and then down the line do a sped up version, so you don't have to put up with all my talking, all my waffling. But for now we'll stick with the real time. Like I said, you could right now be doing some hobby yourself with me just babbling in the background. There's probably going to be times in this video where I go nice and quiet while I'm concentrating or something. But on the other hand, it's quite therapeutic just to talk and chat about stuff in general. Take my mind off things, which at the moment is really beneficial. You need times where you're not thinking about work or other things that are going on around the place. You just need that space. That's one of the reasons why I do this hobby. is it's a relaxation, as all hobbies should be. I get a little bit fed up of the negativity that appears sometimes, both in real life and hobbies, as everyone does. But yeah, I'll try and hopefully make this channel a nice space without the negativity that appears everywhere. Doing the videos that I fancy making, and also if you'd like a video, chuck it in the comments, because I'm always happy to make videos for my viewers. It's something that I do enjoy. Now let's have a look at the time. Okay, it's not taken too long so far to... I'm on walk number 6 at the moment. What I will do most likely though is when I've finished each of the colours, if the first one isn't fully dry, I'm going to pause the filming and then let it dry and come back to it, just so I don't ruin the paintwork. But we'll see. All depends on how long each layer takes. This is probably the longest layer of paint, coat of paint. Although saying that, I am remembering that there will be another coat of this in places if needed, but I don't think it's going to be as excessive as this one, as it's just there to pick up certain tones and colours. What you might pick up as well on the camera is that there is the odd mould line still on the model. To be honest, they don't bother me, as they're just toys. They're toys that I like and I enjoy painting them, and mould lines don't bother me. I've had comments in the past where people say, oh, you need to get rid of the mould lines, and it's like, well, life's too short sometimes. I realise I'm babbling loads here, guys, so apologies for that, but it's quite nice to have an excuse just to babble. And what I probably will do as well, I'll do another video on these Orks for like painting teeth and details and stuff like that. This is just all about the flesh and getting that green tone that I want. But if there's any specific videos you'd like to see on painting anything, as I've already said, drop it in the comments. I'm happy to do so. It takes a bit of time to sort the videos out with work and stuff like that. I normally like to do a few videos in a go and have them ready beforehand, but sometimes a video will be just made a day before release date. I try and do 2 videos a week. At the moment that's working on a Wednesday and Sunday. So if you're looking for something to watch, have a look at my back catalogue of videos, and if you fancy it, you can always subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell. It's much appreciated, as I'm getting more subscribers each month. I know I'm not a big channel, I'm not doing this to make money, I'm doing this just to share my hobby. So you never know, if more of you start joining and watching, I might be able to do it instead of part of my job, but who knows. Oh, I'm on the big shooter one. This is an old metal Ork from when the Orks started to get updated in 3rd edition Warhammer 40,000. when a lot of the models were still metal, and I've got quite a few still in the collection that have been waiting for the right time to start getting painted. But yeah, when Orks started to get the look they have now, it's an interesting jump from the style that they were. You could see the direction which they've come from. But yeah, the update, it was a big update back then. Sorry if I'm going off camera. Okay. I'm looking at these, I think I'm getting all the places, but after I've done the first dry brush, this is where the next shade version happens afterwards. The shade layer, as it picks up any areas that I've missed. But right now, let's just get this green on. If you'd like to see me painting any other colours and how I do it, please drop it in the comments as well. As, oops, I'm happy to share my painting techniques. As it is something I enjoy doing, letting people see how they can paint things in alternative ways. And as you can see, I'm really not being careful as I paint these. I'm getting paint all over the place, but it doesn't matter. With this first layer, the tidy up becomes that second layer when I start doing all of their clothes and everything like that. I think I've got all of that. Yeah, okay. Right, let's wash the brush. Let's bring the first one back in and have a look. It's not quite dry yet. So that first shade layer has now pretty much dried. So the next one I'm going to go on to is a dry brushing with moot green. Now, I don't have to be too careful with this one, so I am going to use a nice big dry brush to get this over all of these Ork models. So I'll just get some paint on and then off the brush. And this is a real quick kind of going over. It gives a really nice rich green, and this is why I often do my skin kind of colours, the lower levels first, because I haven't been too careful, but I've got a really nice rich kind of green colour over the top of all of that. So that's the first Ork. Let's go on to number 2. So the reason why I like to do it as a dry brush, so just kind of forcing it in everywhere there, is I like to build up those layers so that shade has filled all of the lower sections of the model, all of the detail, and this is just picking out all of the higher points. And trying to get it just in on that finger there a little bit, that's okay. Okay, so there is number 2. And this is quite a heavy dry brush, so you could probably put it on with just a standard brush rather than going to the kind of the point of trying to get paint off the brush and so on, but hey, it's up to you. Again, already I realise I'm babbling as I've just started this coat. As you can see, I'm really not being careful while I do this, but I'm getting the look that I want. I'm really not being careful at all while I do this. Not quite. I think I'm getting all of it. That's alright. Whoops, bouncing model there. Well, I hope that was on camera then. Apologies if it wasn't. I need to sort out having a little screen that I can see what my camera's seeing. To make it a little bit easier to keep things in shot. If anyone's got any recommendations, I might just use an old computer monitor to be honest, but that is quite big. Yeah, these guys are definitely kind of hulking out a little bit with that green, but don't mind. I'm gonna knock it back in a minute anyway. Like I said earlier, apologies if you can hear all the traffic outside. Sometimes it gets picked up by the mic, sometimes it doesn't, but apologies if it is disturbing. Now, I was having the thought of maybe doing a video series where I go through the rainbow and do a how I paint each colour. If you'd be interested in that, please let me know, because I can get started. As you can see, I'm really not being careful with this dry brush at all. I'm just chucking on the paint, and this is definitely faster than the original shade section of painting this model. Some of the shade isn't quite dry yet, but it doesn't matter. I mean, to be honest, with the colour that it's giving in places, I'd be happy with some of that as a kind of finished layer of colour. Oop, off camera, sorry guys. Yeah, this is going on quite nicely. What could I, let's say I was going to do a series of different colours. Should I do different models, or should I do the same model but in different colours? Just so you can see the difference that can be got. Okay, happy with that so far. Well, let's go on to the classic metal big shooter orc. Now this Orc Boys squad is just a generic Orc squad that I'm putting together, and the chances are they will be in my Orc Genestealer army, but because they're just a generic squad, it does mean I can include them in my other Orc army that I've been working on for years. Okay, and now I'm on number 10, so nice and quick this whole process. I mean, obviously, if I wasn't rushing with this as I am now, I'd spend a little bit more time making sure that I get into all of the kind of little corners here and there, but hey, right now I'm quite happy with just getting the paint on very quickly. Okay, right, Let me just clean the brush. So let's go and have a look at number 1. Right, so that has already kind of got to a stage I'm happy with for drying. So I'm going to jump straight into the next stage, which is another coat of Beltan green. And I'm going to use the same brush as I used before. And this kind of starts to knock back some of the colour, as well as any bits that I've missed. It's going to fill them in. So if there's areas that are just slightly out of the way, so there we have that starting to build up there. So what I will have to do once I've done this wash over everything is then have a bit of time allowing it to dry. And I think I said it earlier, but if you want to see more videos on painting the Orks, so obviously I've got to do details like their faces and weapons and other bits and pieces, please drop a comment. I'd be happy to do some more videos on these guys. Okay, okay, that looks like that one's done. Sorry if I went off camera then. What I need to do is I need to put a little bit of paper down to let me know where the filming is happening, so I don't go out of shot as often as I do. But hey, I'm always learning with this, and I'm enjoying it as well. So I'm kind of moving on to a bit of a kind of dabbing approach with the brush now, rather than worrying about too much detail. So I'm looking at places that I might have missed. That's okay. But also I want to, with these videos when I'm doing the real-time ones, I just want to show you how quick you can actually paint your models. It doesn't matter if you do it often or not. If you want to take your time, yeah, go for it. That's cool. But if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed and it's going to feel like it's going to take a long time, it doesn't have to. You can just do techniques like this or similar techniques to really speed up the process. I tend to find I'll do a lot of painting like this for the first few colours, really throwing it on, not really worrying about too much of the detail or where the paint's going, to then when I start getting to the top layers I spend a little bit more time just to get that nice kind of finish that I'm looking for. And so I'm always looking at ways to improve my painting. I kind of sometimes forget how long I've been doing this, and you can kind of get to the assumption that everyone knows how to do every technique, or kind of they're doing the hobby the same way as you, but everyone's hobby is different. So I like to think there's no right or wrong way for any of this. There's just the way that you're enjoying. I'm really babbling now, sorry guys. I'm just going to carry on getting this wash on these ones. Okay, that's okay. So I know some people might go for contrast paints when it comes to this kind of thing, but I find contrast paints are treated exactly the same way as, say, the first wash layer. So then I'll always build up more layers over the top of them. Just, it's the way I prefer to work. They are just another layer of paint. I'm really waffling today. Apologies, guys. Still haven't decided on the colour of the armour for these guys. I mean, the leather work is going to be a pretty similar standard leather for this whole squad. Keep them tied together. But when it comes to the weapons and armour, it'd be nice to do a bit of checkerboarding, as they're orcs. If you'd like to see how I do that, chuck it in the comments. I'll make sure that I do a video on it. And if you've got any suggestions for colours, let me know. As I said, they're just a generic squad of boys for the Genestealer Orcs, so I might put some purple in there, or I might not. Who knows? To be honest, it doesn't really matter what colour you paint them, as long as you're having fun. And it feels like a while since I've done some painting, so this is nice. Hope if you're watching this while you're doing some hobby, you're enjoying the hobby. Like I said, let me know what you're working on. Always interested to hear what other hobbyists are doing. Recently, with work, I was at the Southwest Model Show on a stand promoting the course that I work on, and it was really nice speaking with hobbyists of all ages, and also people who aren't hobbyists, just interested in the course I work on. The course I work on is a degree course which teaches model making for all the different industries that it is a part of, which is a lot. If you'd like me to do a video on that, drop it in the comments. But yeah, if you'd like a video on my job, yeah, drop it in the comments. Quite happy to do so. Likewise, if you've got any questions you'd like to ask me, chuck it in the comments as well. I haven't done one of those videos. I don't necessarily think people care that much about what I do. But you never know. I've got more and more subscribers on the channel recently, which I really appreciate. I started this as just part of my hobby, and I am quite surprised at the number of people who engage with my videos. I mean, it's not a big channel, nowhere near a big channel, but every week a few more views. I mean, to be honest, I would really enjoy doing this more often. Oops, creating more content and maybe developing the channel further. But hey, for now, it's a hobby, it's a pipe dream. It means I can sit here and waffle while I paint models. Anyway, right. That is the last wash of the Beltan green. Let's just bring all of these on the screen. So as you can see, it's quite a vivid green at the moment. So what I'm going to do is let this dry, and then we'll come back for the final stage of painting. Okay, so that wash that I've just put on has almost dried, But I'm going to move on to the next stage anyway, before it's dry, because it doesn't really matter with this one, as it allows the colours to blend quite nicely. So let's just bring in a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing is a light dry brush with the Orks Flesh Citadel paint. Oh, you can use pretty much any paints. This one gives a kind of knocks back the colour a little bit. So at the moment they are very bright green, but what I can do when I brush that on, it starts to knock it back slightly. So you can build this up as much as you want with the models. I'm going to just do a really light dry brush on it. Right there it has. Just try to see that colour. It has peeled a little bit paint, that's okay. What we'll do quickly, let's just get another brush with paint. I'm just going to cover up that little mark there. So I'm not just dry brushing, I've got another brush that I'm chucking in to get that colour, but for now that's okay. Let's get the next one in. So what I will do with these models as well, when it gets to the stage of painting all the clothes, weapons and that kind of thing, I do use other washes which knock back the colour a little bit more. And I probably will do another video on painting this squad, just so you get a bit of an idea on how long it takes. As I've just kind of realised, because I'm rushing this, there's certain areas which haven't quite got the paint fixed to them as I'd like, so just tweaking, adjusting. Let's try and knock as much of the paint off my dry brush as possible. There we go, that's what I'm looking for. So I personally like a really green orc. If you want to knock this back further, which I will do, adding some Agrax Earthshade to the washes just to create that different tone works perfectly well, which I will do when I paint the rest of these models. It's, as you can see, I don't see if it's coming up on the camera or not, but some of that wash is still glistening a little bit, some of that shade. So it's not fully dried everywhere, but as I said, I'm not too worried at the moment. So these last few, a little bit too wet still, but that's okay, doesn't matter. Just want to get these tones of green. Oops, face planting. So if you'd like to see another video on these orcs, drop it in the comments. To be honest, I'm probably going to make one anyway, but it's always nice to know if people are interested. If people are interested, I'll kind of get to it quicker. Currently it'll go on a list that will take a little bit of time to get to. What I will do at the end of the video is a few little photos, gallery shots of these guys, just so you can see the colour a little bit clearer, hopefully. But yeah, any comments about this process, chuck it down below. If you've got any questions or even suggestions, do the same thing. So always happy to interact with everyone. Okay, so that's it for this video. Like I said, I'm going to leave some pictures at the end just to show you the green skins slightly closer up. I hope you found this informative on the process I go through to start painting my orcs and other green skins. But for now, all I've got to say is thank you so much for tuning in. My name's John, and you've been watching War Games, Models, and Other Hobbies.